So how you doing, Smudge? How you doing, David?
I'm good. I got my this is a
That's awesome.
really 3D toothpick.
Yeah, this is the only thing I've got. Is this? That's
Oh,
it.
that's so good.
This is
I don't have-
for like like if you have a shotgun for entering like like tight corridors and that. This is what I use. So it's like that.
That's just
About
great.
it for mine, yeah. So I need to up my game. I need to start wearing like kind of a French necklace, the garlic as well. So
That's a good idea.
yeah.
We just have
garlic
one
in the back.
Oh, I didn't.
The rest are being used.
I want to find one of those big, long, braided ones that you hang up.
That's a great idea.
So what I was thinking, Jessica, and we'll work out some sort of. A friend of mine's writing some music for this for the intro, and we're going to do some sort of voiceover introducing the show, and then we'll try and work that out between the three of us. I think I'll come up with some ideas, fire them across on the Facebook chat, and then see what you all think.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, and so welcome to episode 3, covering episode 5 and 6, everyone. Well, this is a titled Slayer Talk from David, which is a great idea. I love that.
Thank you.
And we've got a new Slayer in our midst called Jessica. How you doing, Jessica?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm kind of being outdone by everyone on the merchandise front.
I'm a little crazy. I already owned all this stuff. I didn't like go out and buy it just for this. Not that I would definitely use that as an excuse, but no. I owned all of this.
So we've not, Jessica, this is the first episode you've been on, and you've come up with a great idea called Student Bodies. Can you just let us know what that's all about?
Yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to keep track of how many people died per episode. I guess monsters and humans. And then at the end of each season, we could figure out which was the deadliest episode or monster of the season.
Yeah, I think we should have most pathetic death as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like some bumbling fool. And was it this one? It was. I think which is the episode with the praying mantis? Was it 4 or 3?
I think it was 3.
I think it was 3, but
Because
it was 4. It was 4 was the witch. 3 was praying mantis. Or maybe I have.
So
I think it's
the reason I mention that is my favorite Giles moment so far is when he dives to play the audio recording.
Yes.
So far, it's my favorite kill so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got a little bit of mixed feelings about episode 5 and 6. So, what's the title of the? It's called "Never Kill a Boy on the First Date."
This is one that, for some reason, I remember very well. I don't know why. But it has stuck with me, and we had to watch it. We actually watched it a few weeks back, and had to rewatch it again the other day.
Yeah.
But, I quite like parts of it, but there are some things I have problems with. But we'll get into it.
As long as you don't kind of see yourself in Owen, that's okay.
No.
Owen is, how do I say it? He's like, I wanted him to get killed by a vampire. I really wanted.
Oh, I'm with you. I wasn't sure you were gonna go that direction. Yeah, I agree.
Oh no, he was just like complete airhead, like.
Yeah.
And
for somebody who's supposed to be such a nerd and mysterious in the school, he's not the smartest boy.
yeah, like as soon as I think it was Angel, they meet each other in the bronze, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about
that's a great awkward scene. Awkward, great.
and it, like obviously the bronze count that must be high by now as well.
Yeah.
So this is the one about the master bringing a chosen one.
The anointed.
The anointed, yeah.
I'm so glad I stand corrected on that. Because the chosen one's Buffy. I'm gonna make sure I get that right. So what are people's initial thoughts on the episode?
I generally liked the episode. I didn't like Owen, but especially at the end. Yeah, I thought it was really full of humor. I love the whole Buffy is all humor. That's one of the things that I love about it. But it's just I started to track how many funny moments there were. There's a lot of things you could track. but it's just brilliant. Like just things like, you know, she's the strangest girl. Was that the phrase they kept using? Giles used it first, and then Owen uses it, and then apparently in another episode,
Buffy's mom has used that in a previous episode.
Yeah, so it's just great writing. I mean, I'm always about the writing and the themes, but
absolutely. What did you think, Jessica?
I feel like it was never a classic for me, but I kind of dislike it more as an adult because I always loved Xander watching the original run of Buffy. But as I grew older as a woman, this episode made me like, Xander, okay, back off. Like, she's not interested. Like, you need to like step it back a little, dude. You're really heavy-handed with the lurking, and it's a bit much in this episode. Thankfully, it's not so bad in the other episodes, but this one I was like, dude, relax.
the best, we're all adults here, and there's a relatively adult audience, I'd like to think, is he needs to sort himself out, if you know what I mean, because he is just a walking hard on for the last few episodes especially.
Yeah.
And especially the following episode, which we'll get onto, that's just completely mental. I've got my favorite quote so far for this episode is I think Owen walks into the library and asks Giles asks, "What do you want?" And he says, "A book."
That scene.
I love how shocked he looks too. Like, oh right.
Yeah, that's true.
It's as though Giles doesn't see anyone else, kind of thing. It's just obviously he's the looking after Buffy. And he doesn't really concern himself with anyone else, literally anyone else, especially at the school.
Yeah.
I quite liked the episode. I thought there were some interesting things they introduced in terms of the lore that they hadn't before. Like it opens with the master reading from some old prophecy, and it's the first time you see that monsters have their own set of beliefs or things that have happened in the whole series. Other than just the Watchers, and they don't ever say whether it's the same prophecy or texts that the vampires are reading from that Giles does his research. So it kind of introduces this whole other idea that vampires have a background of lore, and they talk about different sects. The Order of Aurelius from the vampires, it's the first time they've had a named group of people, although I think this is the only episode they're in.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't notice that.
I thought there were some interesting ideas because they do that throughout the series, that they have, I think, all monsters, that there's just a bigger lore happening in the world, which is really interesting to me.
It already kind of, like, that's a great point, and it gives, it's kind of expanding the universe really early on, especially for 7 seasons it goes into. It kind of, as soon as you introduce something like that, your imagination starts kind of running off in wild directions. I don't know what happens to that book, but I'd love a scene if Giles sees it, go, "Oh, I'll add that to the collection. You know, I want that."
Yeah.
I often wonder in the school library how much of it is just Giles' prophecy books and texts compared to like books you read.
Yeah, that is such a good point, because he just goes off on and he finds these really fantastic books. It's almost like you want to see another set with that area in, with all the books in, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I don't know why I put tiger print jacket. I think it was.
I wrote that down too.
We're waiting on the great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I noticed that.
I love it. He went, what? And I went, oh, I love it.
I didn't notice the fashion so strongly last couple times I watched this. I was like, whoa, it's so dated.
Oh, like later on wearing the like yellow brownish corduroy pants and like the polka dot greenish, I think, silk overshirt. Like, it's just hilarious.
Yeah. The
it's
amount
very
of layers,
heavy on the 60s nostalgia fashion.
Yeah, her dress, her green dress and that.
Yeah.
It was interesting, yeah.
So when we kind of all, you know, pretty much had an idea of who was going to be the anointed one on the bus, and in that episode I was going, did they really just kill a child on that bus? Have they really gone down that road so far? And I thought it was a really good scene, and
Yeah.
I really like how I don't know if it's the right term phrase, but schizophrenic the guy is, and he's already on he's already on the path to kind of a dark place in his own life, which was I kind of really like that. Rather than just turning someone super innocent, super evil, this guy's it's almost like the vampire part of it is almost like the next drug state for him. That's how I saw it.
That's
And
really
I kind of would have liked to have seen how that transitioned, because it was it just the bus crash, and then I can't remember how he was from.
They don't show him being like made, but they do show him being pulled out of the bus and being bitten.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, but they don't mention whether anybody else on the bus was also turned. They said 5 people died in the newspaper article that Giles holds up, but there were clearly more than 5 people on the bus, and they don't mention if any other ones. And they also don't mention if the Anointed had to become a vampire or not. And I don't know if they make that clear later.
Really interesting.
I think they do. Yeah, he's a vampire.
Okay.
And I think I think it's 5 they said died. So I assume there was his mom, the little boy. I think his name is Borba, the guy, the crazy guy, and then there was another middle-aged lady that was there. So yeah, 5. What shocked me about that, it was like, Sunnydale has an airport? Isn't this a tiny town?
Sunnydale Airport bus.
They have an airport, they have a zoo. I'm like, this must be a massive town.
Well, it's Fox, isn't it? They did the same thing with Springfield in Simpsons, so that always expanded. There's always something else in the town. I loved it. I think it was Owen and Xander that when they compared watches.
Oh, I was going to that too.
I was almost in tears. I thought it was a brilliant moment.
Brilliant.
That scene was great too, because he was like trying to linger, and he has a severed hand at the top of his locker, and he was just adjusting the finger.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't spot that. That's amazing.
Yeah, Xander had some pretty bizarre stuff in the inside of his locker that doesn't really match with the rest of his like personal style, but it's and I don't know if they ever introduce any of it. Like he's got a concert poster for the Cramps, which is hilarious.
Wow. And the other thing I love is the words that, you know, how Buffy's affected like the English language. Like there's still today people use phrases like "my bad." I don't know if that was ever used instead of "my mistake" before, but that's a whole language thing. But one thing, what did Xander say? Owenosity. I love that.
He has a certain Owenosity.
Yeah, he's like, it's a certain Owenness, or did she say that? Owenness and Owenosity.
Yeah.
Owen was he was so limp throughout the entire episode. It was like an empty. He was almost like on the production line of he's like a mannequin of a person, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing to him, you know. Did you both notice, or the 4 of us noticed that I think this is the first episode that doesn't have the double title sequence?
Yeah, I paid attention because you guys mentioned it last time, but then the next episode it comes back again.
That's so odd.
So I wonder if it's a runtime, like they just fill in the space, or...
It'll be interesting to know, because I'm watching on Amazon, whether, Smudge, if you notice that on the next one, whether it's on the DVD, because it could be a distribution kind of television thing.
Yeah, we'll watch it again and make a note of that. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it might be a runtime thing. That's very smart. Yeah.
Or maybe they did it every other episode just to like catch new viewers, just in case someone hadn't been watching. They were like, okay, just a quick thing. She's a slayer. She kills vampires. Okay, you're caught up. Let's go.
They stopped doing it completely in later seasons. I know that. And they never redo it. They just stopped airing it. So.
Something that was apparent to the 3 of us, Jessica, pretty much in the first or second episode, depending on what you count as the first and second episode, of course, because there's obviously the original pilot, like you mentioned too recently, the camaraderie is so strong straight away. So anyone dipping in 5 or 6 episodes in, they might actually go, "Oh, I'm not sure whether this is for me," because there's so much complexity to the dynamic already. So it might actually, that might be a good reason to do that second titles, the first title sequence again, because of people's little disconnection from it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah, Giles's car. It's a French car.
I looked it up.
Oh,
Is it a French? It is a French car.
It's a 1963 Citroën DS.
Yeah, it's a Citroën. It's a great. There's
He
a
would
lot.
never drive that. An English guy would never drive that.
It's a fantastic. That becomes a recurring big character throughout the series. It's great.
It's so
The
him.
Giles
It's
mobile.
so him. It matches the kind of leather elbow patches, everything.
Yeah, it really does. And we thought he might be on the wrong side of the road, but when he was driving it, we weren't sure which side of the road he was on.
Oh, that would have been great if it had made it like people beeping the horn at him and everything.
Yeah.
So I've got a quote. I write little quotes down and then I remember where they're from. So when we see most of the characters at the Bronze and Angel's there, and Angel's obviously the alpha male between him and Owen because Owen's just not there. When he walks in, what's Charisma Carpenter's character called?
Cordelia. Yeah.
Cordelia. Sorry, yeah. She says, "Hello, salty goodness."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, that's such a kind of not grim because it's a kind of a blokey thing to say as well. Do you know what I mean? It was hilarious when I'm surprised that she hasn't seen him at the Bronze already though, or because it's not the first time that he's been at the Bronze and she's been there as well.
Yeah. I'm surprised too. I just love it when he doesn't even notice her, which is
the few times they do that, they rub that in this episode. I thought were very well written, and her responses. I always find as a sort of a comic relief character in the background for the first while. She's so well written. Her character is so clear, and her personality is so clear that when they do use her, she doesn't come off as somebody that they just throw away. It's still a strong character.
Yeah.
And I loved all the stuff that happens to her.
Same here.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if she has the same taste as Buffy, or does she absolutely always target guys because she just wants, like, oh, she's hitting on him, I'll take him.
There's a lot of that.
Always go after the same men.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of. She's very competitive in general. Yeah.
I think it's more of a
Ego.
Trying to establish, like, you say that Angel's the alpha male. She's trying to create dominance and maintain her status, I guess. Some of her language though throughout I find in the show doesn't seem as like, it's very funny, but it's not as well written or in character for somebody who's supposed to be 16. So it's I don't know if they did that on purpose, like the character's supposed to be trying hard to be older, or they just forgot that the characters were 16.
Probably they forgot.
I think Cordelia is always going to be aiming at a different older age. It's kind of a personality trait, isn't it? But yeah, it's she's such a great character. I think so far with the cast of characters we have, I think just we're really in good stead going forward.
Oh, you're right. Actually, can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, one of those character things was when in the Bronze, when what's her name, Willow and Xander, they were pretending to be a couple, the double date thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you could just, Willow's such a well-written character too, like, and such a good actress that that's probably making her sad, like, and she just plays along to help.
Because she likes Xander.
Yeah, because she likes Xander. So it just, all these deep characters, I guess, keep flooring me.
Yeah, it's such good fun. And I got 2 little extra notes. Is when they're going to, I think it's the observation room in the funeral home. There's a picking of the lock. There's no lock on the door because it's just because the wide shot, I know it's just a production thing, but the wide shot inside the observation room is just a brass doorknob or a silver doorknob, and then there's no lock.
Good eye.
Oh no, I'm always, because I'm like, I do the same thing with I think like, oh, where's my lens, where, you know, everything in terms of production.
Exactly.
So I think I would have been good at continuity
I
in
was
terms
just
of
gonna
TV
say,
photographs.
yeah.
I've noticed they definitely have some they ignore continuity sometimes just to further the plot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not as important.
I think some of that's forgivable, because if continuity of an edit as well, I think a lot of that can be forgiven as long as it makes, you know, it kind of drives the narrative forward. And it was just a very small observation across the room. Oh right, okay, there's no lock on that.
I think their budget was really, really low in this first season too, because it was like kind of an unknown, and I don't think they had a lot of backing money. So they probably didn't. Maybe they didn't even have a continuity person like following along with this stuff. Maybe because it was like.
You're right. If you notice the scenes with the Master and the other vampires, his makeup is so much better than theirs, than anyone else in the room with him, and it's because he's a reoccurring character. So
and I read because I read because the reason why the other vampires like growl and don't talk is because if you're a one-shot vampire, your teeth are so obstructing that you can't talk properly. So that's why they don't speak. And so if you're a recurring vampire, you get like a specially made set of teeth, so you can actually talk properly without like sounding like this the whole time.
Wow.
So that's why they don't talk.
That's good.
That's great to know, Jessica. That's fantastic. And my last note for this episode is Owen is beyond simple, and it's I don't know what was that the whole point. Was that the whole point, because it was just there's nothing there for him.
Yeah, he's empty.
I feel like he's one of those people that, like, the less he speaks, he's obviously built a reputation on mystery. So, because he kept his mouth shut most of the time, everyone kind of filled in the blanks. And then once he actually kind of comes out, you're like, oh. I thought it was interesting, though, that Willow clocked him as, like, brooding for 40 minutes straight. And that kind of like a juxtaposition between him and, because she really wants Angel, who is, like, really legitimately broody. But there's Owen is like the stand-in who's kind of fake broody and not really actually that deep. So
Exactly.
I had one interesting thought about the end of the episode about Owen. Buffy does something that's pretty brave for somebody supposed to be her age, who decides to not see him anymore because he's more interested in the danger, which was great for her. It was a strong moment, but I feel like if he's really attracted to that kind of lifestyle, that she's kind of now put him out in the cold. And if he's going to go looking for that kind of behavior in Sunnydale, he's going to end up dead very quickly.
Yeah. He's going to go down a sewer following another vampire, and he's going to get...
Exactly. And he never comes back in the series. So that's his one appearance, and they don't mention him. But I feel like as a decision from a responsible slayer, it might not have been the best thing for a bystander's interest.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. You don't even need to explain. Like, that's such a good point, David. You don't even need to explain off his not coming back, because he's gone off, done something really dumb, and now he's dead. So that's a great decision. I think it was a great decision, and he couldn't have been a recurring character, because there was, I think, quite clearly just did. There's no meat on the bone, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true. I thought reinforcing Buffy's sense of like identity and the sense of sacrifice that's necessary. That's an obvious one, but I thought it was well done, and the father figure of Giles that was really cool.
Who's I think I got one last thing. I just looked up the top of my notes. There's a quote: "If the apocalypse comes, beat me."
Beat me. That's what I was gonna say. That's the best line of the episode.
That's so good.
It's so good, and I just love the beeper. Like most kids watching now would be like, "What is that?"
Oh, the funny thing is, I was watching another episode of Millennium yesterday. So I watched Millennium, and then I watched, I think it was The Exorcist or the end of something anyway, and Frank Black in Millennium, because it was a two big Fox shows, and always gets page 2000 because that's the number from the Millennium Group, and it's such a crazy thing. The idea of a beeper, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Like,
They had such a close-up of it at one point.
Yeah, she's checking it.
It's like, yeah, you can see it's like not on or whatever it said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nostalgia there. I had a few things I noticed, which one, when they're trying to barricade the door, Xander puts a lampshade
in the observation room.
Good job.
That
God. And when the is his name Borba? The guy, Borba comes and tries to attack them. For some reason, he screams pork and beans.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was part of the whole spiel he was giving, but all I heard was like pork and beans.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I noticed that too.
What?
Same thing with the barricade happens in the morgue room with Giles. He goes to barricade the door and he uses a coat rack and he puts it in front and then it falls out of the way completely. It doesn't go in front of the door.
So, Jessica? What did you think of the Anointed One as a monster, as a vampire?
I feel like I can't really isolate it to this episode because I know what comes, and I remember it being very disappointing and completely useless as things go on. Like, he doesn't really do a lot as far as I recall. But I don't know. I found it, I guess, now that I'm older and as a mother, it wasn't played tragically, but now I feel somewhat tragic because he is a little boy and obviously his mother was killed off and now he's this like possessed demon child, that's pretty sad. So it was a little more sad for me as an adult now than it was when I watched it originally, but as a bad guy, I don't think he's very that. It's just so cliche.
Yeah. So what we'll do is I'll just get a coughing break out of the way. Jessica, what we're going to do, I think we discussed it last week, Smudge, we're going to have like a Batman signal thing, but with a vampire bat on, to, just to differentiate or separate the episode. So that's where this is going to be.
Did you want the body count for this episode?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So I'll introduce that and then I'll cut that back in. So Jessica, what's the body count on this one?
So this one's hard to count. There's one vampire at the beginning of the episode, random, 3 humans, and then I don't know how you want to count this one because Borba is sired and then killed. So is that 1 death or 2? I'm not sure. And then you have the Anointed One, who's technically a human that died, but he's still alive. So
there's that zombie rule. There's a zombie rule, isn't there? If you're a zombie, you're dead already. So is a vampire alive? That's got to be kind of the way we work.
Yeah. So I mean, does Borba die twice or once? And is the Anointed One dead or not?
Maybe that it was just 5 humans and then 2 vampires. If you separate the deaths that way and not worry about whether they're alive or dead.
Whether or not, yeah. So then, yeah. I guess that's that. Like
let's go for that.
6 then. 1 monster, 5 humans.
That's right.
Yeah.
This episode.
I wonder who's gonna win, humans or monsters?
If you watch Cabin in the Woods, the monsters
definitely win.